नमः पार्वती पतये हर 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 महादेव। नमोऽस्त्वनन्ताय सहस्रमूर्तये सहस्रपादा शिशिरोरुबाहवे सहस्रनाम्ने पुरुषा शिष्य संसारहारिणे भक्तकार्येकदेहाय नमस्ते चित्सदात्मने। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। ॐ नमो गुरुभ्यो गुरुपादुकाभ्यो नमः परेभ्यः परपादुकाभ्यः आचार्यसिद्धे स्वरपादुकाभ्यो नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यः। ह्रीङ्काररहस्ययुक्त श्रीङ्कारगूढातमः विभूत्या ओङ्कारमर्म प्रतिपादिनीभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्याम्। होत्राग्निहोत्राग्निहविष्यहोत्रे होमादिसर्वा कृतिभासमानं यद्ब्रह्म तद्बोधवितारिणीभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्याम्। कामादिसर्प व्रजगारुणाभ्यां विवेकवैराग्यनिधिप्रदाभ्यां बोधाप्रदाभ्यां धृतमोक्षदाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्याम्। अनन्तसंसारसमुद्रतारा नौकायिताभ्यां स्थिरभक्तिदाभ्यां जाड्याब्धिसंशोषणवाडवाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्याम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ अस्य श्रीगुरुगीतास्तोत्रमन्त्रस्य भगवान् सदाशिवऋषि नानाविधानि छन्दांसि श्रीगुरु परमात्मा देवता। हम बीजं सह शक्ति क्रों कीलकं श्री गुरु प्रसाद सिद्ध्यर्थे जपे विनियोगः। अथ ध्यानम्। हंसाभ्यां परिवृत्तपत्रकमले दिव्ये जगत्कारणे विश्वोत्कीर्णमनेकदेहनिलये स्वच्छन्दमात्मेच्छया तद्योदाम्बदशाम्भवं तु चरणं दीपाङ्कुरग्राहिणम् अत्याक्षाक्षरविग्रहं गुरुपदं ध्यायेत् विभुं शाश्वतम्। सूत उवाच कैलासशिखरे रम्ये भक्तिसन्धाननायकं प्रणम्य पार्वती भक्त्या शङ्करं परिपृच्छति। श्रीदेव्युवाच ॐ नमो देवदेवेश परात्पर जगद्गुरो सदाशिव महादेव गुरुदीक्षां प्रदेहि मे। केन मार्गेण वो स्वामिन् देहि ब्रह्ममयो भवेत् त्वं कृपां कुरु मे स्वामिन् नमामि चरणौ तव। ईश्वर उवाच मम रूपासि देवे त्वं त्वत्प्रीत्यर्थं वदाम्यहम् लोकोपकारकः प्रश्नो न केनापि कृतः पुरा। दुर्लभं त्रिषु लोकेषु तच्छृणुष्व वदाम्यहम् गुरुं विना ब्रह्म नान्यत् सत्यं सत्यं वरानने। वेदशास्त्रपुराणानि इतिहासादिकानि च मन्त्रयन्त्रादिविद्याश्च स्मृतिरुच्चाटनादिकम्। शैवशाक्तगमादीनि अन्यानि विविधानि च अपभ्रंशकराणिह जीवानां भ्रान्तचेतसाम्। यज्ञं व्रतं तपोदानं जपं तीर्थं तथैव च गुरुतत्त्वमविज्ञाय मूढस्तु चरते जनः। गुरुरवध्यात्मनो नान्यत् सत्यं सत्यं न संशयः तल्लाभार्थं प्रयत्नस्तु कर्तव्यो हि मनीषिभिः। गूढविद्या जगन्माया देहे चाज्ञानसम्भवा उदयो यत्प्रकाशेन शब्देन कथ्यते। सर्वपापविशुद्धात्मा श्रीगुरोपादसेवनात् देहि ब्रह्म भवेद्यस्मात् त्वत्कृपार्थं वदामि ते। गुरुपादाम्बुजं स्मृत्वा जलं शिरसि धारये सर्वतीर्थावगाहस्य सम्प्राप्नोति फलं नरः। शोषणं पापपङ्कस्य दीपनं ज्ञानतेजसां गुरुपादोदकं सम्यक् संसारार्णवतारकम्। अज्ञानमूलहरणं जन्मकर्मनिवारणं ज्ञानवैराग्यसिद्ध्यर्थं गुरुपादोदकं पिबेत्। गुरुपादोदकं पीत्वा गुरोरुच्छिष्टभोजनं गुरुमूर्ते सदा ध्यानं गुरुमन्त्रं सदा जपेत्। काशीक्षेत्रं तन्निवासो जाह्नवीचरणोदकं गुरुर्विश्वेश्वरः साक्षात् तारकं ब्रह्म निश्चितं गुरोपादोदकं यत्तु गयासौ सोक्षयो भटः प्रयागस्य गुरुमूर्त्यै नमो नमः गुरुमूर्तिं स्मरे नित्यं गुरोनाम सदा जपेत् गुरोराज्ञां प्रकुर्वीत गुरोरन्यन्न भावयेत् गुरोवक्त्रस्थितं ब्रह्म प्राप्यते तत्प्रसादतः गुरुर्ध्यानं सदा कुर्यात् कुलस्त्रीस्वपतिर्यथा स्वाश्रमं च स्वजातिं च स्वकीर्तिपुष्टिवर्धनम् एतत्सर्वं परित्यज्य गुरोरन्यन्य भावयेत् अनन्याश्चिन्तयन्तो मां सुलभं परमं पदं तस्मात् सर्वप्रयत्नेन गुरोराराधनं कुरु त्रैलोक्ये स्फुटभक्तारो देवाद्यसुरपन्नगा गुरोभक्त्रस्थिता विद्या गुरोभक्त्या तु लभ्यते गुकारस्त्वन्धकारश्च ऋकारस्तेज उच्यते अज्ञानग्रासकं ब्रह्म गुरुरेव न संशयः गुकार प्रथमो वर्णो मायादिगुणभासकः ऋकारो द्वितीयो ब्रह्म मायाभ्रान्तिविनाशनम् एवं गुरुपदं श्रेष्ठं देवानामपि दुर्लभम् हा हा हू हू गणश्चैव गन्धर्वैश्च प्रपूज्यते ध्रुवं तेषां च सर्वेषां नास्ति तत्त्वं गुरो परम् आसनं शयनं वस्त्रं भूषणं वाहनादिकम् साधकेन प्रदातव्यं गुरुसन्तोषकारकम् गुरोराराधनं कार्यं स्वजीवित्वं निवेदये कर्मणा मनसा वाचा नित्यमाराधयेत् गुरुं दीर्घदण्डं नमस्कृत्य निर्लज्जो गुरुसन्निधौ शरीरम् इन्द्रियं प्राणान् तद्गुरुभ्यो निवेदयेत् आत्मदारादिकं सर्वं सद्गुरुभ्यो निवेदयेत् कृमिकीटभस्मविष्ठा दुर्गन्धिमलमूत्रकं श्लेष्मरक्तं त्वचं मांसं वञ्चयेन्नवरानने संसारवृक्षमारूढाः पतन्तो नरकार्णवे येन चैवोद्धृताः सर्वे तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः हेतवे जगतामेव संसारार्णवसेतवे प्रभवे सर्वविद्यानां शम्भवे गुरवे नमः अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः त्वं पिता त्वं च मे माता त्वं बन्धुस्त्वं च देवता संसार तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः यत्सत्येन जगत्सत्यं यत्प्रकाशेन भाति तत् यदानन्देन नन्दन्ति तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः यस्य स्थित्या सत्यमिदं यद्भाति भानुरूपतः प्रियं पुत्रादि यत्प्रीत्य तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। येन चेतायते हीदं चित्तं चेतायते नयं जाग्रत् स्वप्न सुषुप्त्यादि तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। यस्य ज्ञानादिदं विश्वं न दृश्यं भिन्न वेदतः सदेकरूपरूपाय तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। यस्य मतं तस्य मतं मतं यस्य न वेदसः अनन्यभावभावाय तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नानारूप कार्यरूपेण भाति यत् कार्यकारणरूपाय तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नानारूपमिदं सर्वं न केनाप्यस्ति भिन्नता कार्यकारणता चैव तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। यदङ्घ्रिकमलद्वन्द्वं द्वन्द्वतापनिवारकं तारकं सर्वदा श्रीगुरुं प्रणमाम्यहम्। शिवे क्रुद्धे गुरुस्त्राता गुरुक्रुद्धे शिवो नहि तस्मात् सर्वप्रयत्नेन श्रीगुरुं शरणं व्रजे। वन्दे गुरुपदद्वन्द्वं वाङ्मनश्चित्तगोचरं श्वेतरक्तप्रभाभिन्नं शिवशक्त्यात्मकं परम्। उकारं च गुणातीतं ऋकारं रूपवर्जितं गुणातीतस्वरूपं च यो दद्यात् स गुरुस्मृता। आत्रिनेत्र सर्वसाक्षी आचतुर्बाहुरच्युतः आचतुर्वदनो ब्रह्म कथितः प्रिये। अयं मयाञ्जलिर्बद्धो दयासागरवृद्धये यदनुग्रहतो जन्तुश्चित्रसंसारमुक्तिभाग्। श्रीगुरो परमं रूपं विवेकचक्षुषोऽमृतं मन्दभाग्या न पश्यन्ति अन्धा सूर्योदयं यथा। श्रीनाथचरणद्वन्द्वं यस्यां दिशि विराजते तस्यै दिशे नमस्कुर्यात् भक्त्या प्रतिदिनं प्रिये। तस्यै दिशे सततमञ्जलिरेषार्ये प्रक्षिप्यते मुखरितौ मधुपैर्बुधैश्च जागर्ति यत्र भगवान् गुरुचक्रवर्ती विश्वोदया प्रलयनाटकनित्यसाक्षी। श्रीनाथादिगुरुत्रयं गणपतिं पीठत्रयं भैरवं सिद्धौघं घटुकत्रयं पदयुगं दूतीक्रमं मण्डलम् वीरान्ध्वष्टचतुष्टषष्टिनवकं वीरावले पञ्चकं श्रीमन्मालिनी मन्त्रराजसहितं वन्दे गुरुर्मण्डलम्। अव्यस्थये सकलये सुदीर्घमनिलये व्याधे प्ररैर्दुष्करे प्राणायामशतैरने ककरणे दुःखात्मके यस्मिन्नाव्युदिते विनश्यति बले वायो स्वयं तत्क्षणात् प्राप्तुं तत्सहजं स्वभावमनिशम् सेवध्वमेकं गुरुम् स्वदेशिकस्यैव शरीरचिन्तनं भवेदनन्तस्य शिवस्य चिन्तनं स्वदेशिकस्यैव च नामकीर्तनं भवेदनन्तस्य शिवस्य कीर्तनम् यत्पादरेणुकणिका कापि संसारवारिधे सेतुबन्धायते नातं देशिकं तामुपास्महे यस्मादनुग्रहं लब्ध्वा मुत्सृजेत् तस्मै श्रीदेशिकेन्द्राय नमश्चाभीष्टसिद्धये पादाब्जं सर्वसंसार दावानलविनाशकं ब्रह्मरन्ध्रेषिताम्भोज मध्यस्थं चन्द्रमण्डले अकथादित्रिरेखाब्जे सहस्रदल हंसपार्श्वत्रिकोणे च स्मरेतन्मध्यगं गुरुम् सकलभुवनसृष्टे कल्पिता शेषपुष्टिर् अर्थदृष्टे अवगुणपरिमाष्टे तत्पदार्थैकदृष्टिर् भवगुणपरमेष्टिर् मोक्षमार्गैकदृष्टिः सकलभुवनरङ्गा स्थापनस्तम्भयष्टि सकरुणरसवृष्टे तत्त्वमाला समष्टि सकलसमयसृष्टि सच्चिदानन्ददृष्टिर्निवसतु मयि नित्यं श्रीगुरुदिव्यदृष्टि अग्निशुद्धं समन्तातु ज्वालापरिचकादिया मन्त्रराजमिमं मन्ये हर्निशं पातु मृत्युतः तदेजति तन्नैजति तद्दूरे तत्समीपके तदन्तरस्य सर्वस्य तदु सर्वस्य बाह्यतः अजोऽहमजरोऽहं च अनादिनिधनः स्वयम् अविकारश्चिदानन्द अणीयान्महतो परं नित्यं स्वयं ज्योतिर्निरामयं विरजं परमाकाशं ध्रुवमानन्दमव्ययम् श्रुतिप्रत्यक्षमैतेयम् अनुमानश्चतुष्टयं यस्य चात्मा तपो वेद देशिकं च सदा स्मरे मननं यद्भवं कार्यं तद्वदामि महामते साधुत्वं च मया दृष्टं त्वयि तिष्ठति साम्प्रतम् अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः सर्वश्रुतिशिरोरत्न विराजितपदाम्बुजा कान्ताम्बुजसूर्यो यत् तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः यस्य स्मरणमात्रेण ज्ञानमुत्पद्यते स्वयं य एव सर्वसम्प्राप्ते तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। चैतन्यं शाश्वतं शान्तं व्योमातीतं निरञ्जनं नादबिन्दुकलातीतं तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। स्थावरं जङ्गमं चैव तथा चैव चराचरं व्याप्तं येन जगत्सर्वं तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ज्ञानशक्तिसमारूढ तत्त्वमालाविभूषिता भुक्तिमुक्तिप्रदाताय तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। न गुरोरधिकं तत्त्वं न गुरोरधिकं तपः तत्त्वं ज्ञानात् परं नास्ति तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मन्नाथ श्रीजगन्नाथो मद्गुरो श्रीजगद्गुरो ममात्मा सर्वभूतात्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ज्ञानमूलं गुरुर्मूर्तिः पूजामूलं गुरुपदं मन्त्रमूलं गुरुर्वाक्यं मोक्षमूलं गुरुकृपा। गुरुरादिरनादिश्च गुरुपरमदैवतं गुरुपरातरं नास्ति तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सप्तसागरपर्यन्तं तीर्थस्नानादिकं फलं गुरोरङ्घ्रिपयो बिन्दु सहस्रांशेन दुर्लभम्। हरौरुष्टे गुरुस्त्राता गुरुरुष्टे न कश्चन तस्मात् सर्वप्रयत्नेन श्रीगुरुं शरणं व्रजे। गुरुरेव जगत्सर्वं ब्रह्म विष्णु शिवात्मकं गुरुपरातरं नास्ति तस्मात् सम्पूजयेत् गुरुम्। ज्ञानं विज्ञानसहितं लभ्यते गुरुभक्तितः ध्येयोऽसौ गुरुमार्गिभिः यस्मात् परतरं नास्ति नेति नेतीति वै श्रुतिः। मनसा वचसा चैव नित्यमाराधयेत् गुरुम्। गुरुकृपाप्रसादेन ब्रह्म विष्णु सदाशिवा समर्था प्रभवादौ च केवलं गुरुसेवया। देवकिन्नरगन्धर्व पितरो यक्षचारण मुनयोऽपि न जानन्ति गुरुशुश्रूषणे विधिम्। महाहंकारगर्वेण तपोविद्याबलान्विता संसारकुहरावर्ते घटयन्त्रे यथा घटा। न मुक्ता देवगन्धर्वा पितरो यक्षकिन्नरा निशयात् सर्वसिद्धाश्च गुरुसेवापराङ्मुखा। ध्यानं शृणु महात् सर्वानन्दप्रदायकं सर्वसौख्यकरं नित्यं भुक्तिमुक्तिविधायकम्। श्रीमत्परब्रह्मगुरुं स्मरामि श्रीमत्परब्रह्मगुरुं वदामि श्रीमत्परब्रह्मगुरुं नमामि श्रीमत्परब्रह्मगुरुं भजामि। ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधि साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासं निराकारं निरञ्जनं नित्यबोधं चिदानन्दं गुरुं ब्रह्मा नमाम्यहम्। हृदं भुजे कर्णिकमध्यसंस्थे सिंहासने संस्थितदिव्यमूर्तिं ध्यायेत् गुरुं चन्द्रकला प्रकाशं चेत्पुस्तकाविशवरं ददामि। श्वेताम्बरं श्वेतविलेपपुष्पं मुक्ताविभूषं मुदितं द्विनेत्रं मामाङ्गपीठस्थितदिव्यशक्ति मन्दस्थितं सान्द्रकृपानिधानम् आनन्दमानन्दकरं प्रसन्नं ज्ञानस्वरूपं निजबोधयुक्तं योगीन्द्रमीड्यं भवरोगवैद्यं श्रीमद्गुरुं नित्यमहं नमामि। यस्मिन् श्रेष्ठे स्थितिध्वंस निग्रहानुग्रहात्मकं कृत्यं पञ्चविधं शाश्वत भासते तं नमाम्यहम्। प्रातः शिरसि शुक्लाब्जे द्विनेत्रं द्विभुजं गुरुं वराभयायुतं शान्तं स्मरेत् तं नामपूर्वकम्। न गुरोरधिकं न गुरोरधिकं न गुरोरधिकं न गुरोरधिकं शिवशासनत 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 इदमेव शिवं त्वेदमेव शिवं त्वेदमेव शिवं त्वेदमेव शिवं मम शासनतो मम शासनतो मम शासनत इदमेव शिवं ज्ञानमुत्पद्यते स्वयं तत्सद्गुरुप्रसादेन मुक्तोऽहमेति भावये। गुरुदर्शितमार्गेण मनःशुद्धिं तु कारयेत् अनित्यं खण्डयेत् सर्वं यत्किञ्चिदात्मगोचरम्। ज्ञेयं सर्वस्वरूपं च ज्ञानं च मन उच्यते ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं समं कुर्यात् नान्यपन्था द्वितीयकः। एवं श्रुत्वा महादेवी गुरुनिन्दां करोति यः स याति नरकं घोरं यावच्चन्द्रदिवाकरो। यावत् कल्पान्तको तावदेवा गुरुं स्मरेत् गुरुलोपो न कर्तव्य स्वच्छन्दो यदि वाग्भवेत्। ओङ्कारेण न वक्तव्यं प्राज्ञै शिष्यै कथञ्चन गुरोरग्रे न वक्तव्यं न सत्यं च कदाचन। गुरुं त्वङ्कृत्य हुङ्कृत्य गुरुं निर्जित्य बाधतः अरण्ये निर्जले देशे स भवेद् ब्रह्म राक्षसः मुनिविपन्नगैर्वापि सुरैर्वा शापितो यदि कालमृत्यो भयाद्वापि गुरो रक्षति पार्वती अशक्ता हि अशक्ता मुनयस्तथा गुरो शापेन ते शीघ्रं क्षयं यान्ति न संशया मन्त्रराजामिमं देवी गुरोरेत्याक्षरद्वयं स्मृतिवेदार्थवाक्येन श्रुतिस्मृति अविज्ञाय केवलं गुरुसेवका ते वै सन्न्यासिना प्रोक्ता इतरे वेषधारिणा नित्यं ब्रह्म निराकारं निर्गुणं बोधयेत् परं सर्वं ब्रह्म निराभासं दीपो दीपान्तरं यथा गुरुकृपाप्रसादेन आत्मारामं निरीक्षयेत् अनेन गुरुमार्गेण स्वात्मज्ञानम् आब्रह्मस्तम्भपर्यन्तं परमात्मा स्वरूपकं स्थावरं जङ्गमं चैव प्रणमामि जगन्मयम् वन्देऽहं सच्चिदानन्दं वेदातीतं सदा गुरुं नित्यं पूर्णं निराकारं निर्गुणं स्वात्मसंस्थितम् परात्परात्तरं देयं नित्यमानन्दकारकं हृदयाकाशमध्यस्थं शुद्धस्फटिकसन्निभं स्फटिकाप्रतिमारूपं दृश्यते दर्पणे यथा तदात्मनि चिदाकारम् आनन्दं सोऽमृत्युता अङ्गुष्ठमात्रपुरुषं ध्यायतश्चिन्मयं हृदि तत्र स्फुरति भावो शृणोतं कथयाम्यहम् अगोचरं दधाम्यं नामरूपविवर्जितं निःशब्दं तद्विजानीयात् स्वभावं ब्रह्म पार्वती तथा गन्धस्वभावेन कर्पूरकुसुमादिषु शीतोष्णादिस्वभावेन तथा ब्रह्म च शाश्वतम् स्वयं तथाविदो भूत्वा स्थातव्यं यत्र कुत्रचित् कीटभ्रमरवत् तत्र ज्ञानं भवति तादृशम् गुरुध्यानं तथा कृत्वा स्वयं ब्रह्ममयो भवेत् पिण्डे पदे तथा रूपे मुक्तोऽसौ नात्र संशयः श्रीपार्वती उवाच पिण्डं किं नो महादेव पदं किं समुदारितं रूपातीतम् एतदाख्याहि शङ्करम् श्रीमहादेव उवाच पिण्डं कुण्डलिनी शक्ति पदं हंसमुदारितं रूपं बिन्दुरिति रूपातीतं निरञ्जनं पिण्डे मुक्ता पदे मुक्ता रूपे मुक्ता वरानने रूपातीते तु ये मुक्ता स्ते मुक्ता नात्र संशयः स्वयं सर्वमयो भूत्वा परं तत्त्वं विलोकयेत् परात् परात्तरं नान्यत् सर्वसङ्गविवर्जितं एकाकी निःस्पृहा शान्तस्तिष्ठासे तत्प्रसादतः लब्धं वा तन्लब्धं वा स्वल्पं वा बहुलं तथा निष्कामेनैव भोक्तव्यं सदा सन्तुष्टचेतसा सर्वज्ञापदमित्याहुर्देहि सर्वमयो बुधा सदानन्दः सदा शान्तो रमते यत्र कुत्रचित् यत्रैव तिष्ठते सोऽपि सदेशः पुण्यभाजनं मुक्तस्य लक्षणं देवी तवाग्रे कथितं मया उपदेशस्तथा गुरुभक्तिस्तथा ध्यानं सकलं तव कीर्तितम् अनेन यद्भवेत् कार्यं तद्वदामि महामते लोकोपकारकं देवी लौकिकं तु न भावये लौकिकात् कर्मणो यान्ति ज्ञानहीनाभवार्णवम् ज्ञाने तु भावयेत् सर्वं कर्म निष्कर्म यत्कृतम् इदं तु भक्तिभावेन पठते शृणुते यदि लिखित्वा तत्प्रदात् तत्सर्वं सफलं भवेत् गुरुगीतात्मकं देवी शुद्धतत्त्वं मयोदितम् भवव्याधिविनाशार्थं स्वयमेव जपेत् सदा गुरुगीताक्षरैकं तु मन्त्रराजमिमं जपेत् अन्ये च विविधा मन्त्रा कलां नारन्ति षोडशीम् अनन्तबलमाप्नोति गुरुगीता जपेन तु सर्वपापप्रशमनं सर्वदारिद्र्यनाशनं कालमृत्युभयहरं सर्वसङ्कटनाशनं यक्षराक्षसभूत चोरव्याघ्रभयापहम् महाव्याधिहरं सर्वं विभूतिसिद्धिदं भवेत् अथवा मोहनं वशं स्वयमेव जपेत् सदा पाषाणे रोगसम्भवः मेदिन्यां दुःखमाप्नोति काष्ठे भवति निष्फलम् कृष्णाजिने ज्ञानसिद्धि मोक्षश्रीव्याघ्रचर्मणि कुशासने ज्ञानसिद्धि सर्वसिद्धिस्तु कम्बले कुशैर्वादुर्वया देवी आसने शुभ्रकम्बले उपविश्य ततो देवी जपेदेकाग्रमानस ज्ञानं भक्तासनं प्रिये अभिचारे कृष्णवर्णं पीतवर्णं धनागमे उत्तरे शान्तिकामस्तु स्वस्य पूर्वामुखो जपेत् दक्षिणे मारणं प्रोक्तं पश्चिमे च धनागम मोहनं सर्वभूतानां वन्दमोक्षकरं भवेत् देवराजा प्रियकरं सर्वलोकावसं भवेत् सर्वेषां स्तम्भनकरं गुणानां च विवर्धिनं दुष्कर्मनाशनं चैव सुकर्मसिद्धिदं भवेत् दुःस्वप्ननाशनं चैव सुस्वप्नफलदायकम् सर्वशान्तिकरं नित्यं तथा वन्द्या सुपुत्रदं अवैधव्यकरो सदा आयुरारोग्यमैश्वर्यं पुत्रपौत्रप्रवर्धनम् अकामता श्रीविधवा जपान्मोक्षमवाप्नुयात् अवैधव्यं स कामतु लभते चान्यजन्मनि सर्वसुखवयं नाशयेच्छापहरकम् सर्वबाधाप्रशमनं धर्मार्थकाममोक्षदं यं यं चिन्तयते कामं तं तं प्राप्नोति निश्चितम् कामितस्य कामधेनु कल्पना कल्पपादपा चिन्तामणिश्चिन्तितस्य मोक्षहेतुर्जपे नित्यं मोक्षश्रियमवाप्नुयात् भोगकामो जपेद्यो वै फलप्रदम् जपेक्षाक्तस्य सौरश गणपत्यस्य वैष्णवः शैवस्य सिद्धिदं देवी सत्यं सत्यं न संशयः अत काम्या जपे स्थानम् अदयामि वरानने सागरे च तवा हरिहरालये भक्तिदेवालये गोष्ठे सर्वदेवालये शुभे बटे च धात्रिमूले वा मठे वृन्दावने तथा पवित्रे निर्जले सा नित्यानुष्ठानतोऽपि वा निर्वेदने जपमेतं समाचरे शमशाने वयभूमौ तु वटमूलान्तिके तथा सिद्ध्यन्ति धौतरे मूले च्यूतवृक्षस्य सन्निधौ गुरुपुत्र वरं मूर्खात् तत्त्वसिद्ध्यन्ति नान्यथा शुभकर्माणि सर्वाणि दीक्षाव्रततपांसि च संसारमलनाशार्थं अवापाशनिवृत्तये संहितासमज्ञानं तत्त्वज्ञा कुरुते सदा स एव च गुरु साक्षात् सदा सद्ब्रह्मवेत्तमा तस्य स्थानानि पवित्राणि न संशयान् सर्वशुद्धवित्रोऽसौ स्वभावाद्यत्र तिष्ठति तत्र देवागणाः सर्वे क्षेत्रे पीठे वसन्ति आसनस्थशयानो वा गच्छन् तिष्ठन् वदन्नपि अश्वारूढो गजारूढ सुप्तो जागरितोऽपि वा शोचे स्म सदा ज्ञानी गुरुगीता जपेन तु तस्य दर्शनमार्गेण पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते समुद्रे च यथा तोयं क्षीरे क्षीरं घृते घृतं भिन्ने कुम्भे यथा काशं परमात्मा परमात्मनि तदैव ज्ञानी जीवात्मा परमात्मानि लीयते ऐक्येन रमते ज्ञानी यत्र तत्र दिवानिशम् एवं विदो महामुक्ता सर्वदा वर्तते बुधा तस्य सर्वप्रयत्नेन भावभक्तिं करोति यः सर्वसन्देहरहितो मुक्तो भवति पार्वती मुक्तिमुक्तिद्वयं तस्य जिह्वाग्रे च सरस्वती अनेन प्राणिनः सर्वे गुरुगीता जपेन तु सर्वसिद्धिं प्राप्नुवन्ति मुक्तिमुक्तिं न संशयः। सत्यं सत्यं पुनः सत्यं धर्म्यं सांख्यं मयोदितं गुरुगीता समं नास्ति सत्यं सत्यं वरानने। एको देव एकधर्म एकनिष्ठा परं तप गुरुपरातरं नान्यत् नास्ति तत्त्वं गुरुपरम्। माता धन्या पिता धन्यो धन्यो वंशाकुलं तथा धन्या च वसुधा गुरुभक्ति सुदुर्लभा। शरीरम् इन्द्रियं प्राणात् चार्ता स्वजन बान्धवा माता पिता कुलं देवी गुरुरेव न संशयः। आकल्पजन्मनां कोट्या अपव्रता तपक्रिया तत्सर्वं सफलं देवी गुरु सन्तोषमात्रतः। विद्यादपो बलेनैव मन्दभाग्याश्च ये नरा ब्रह्म विष्णु महेशाश्च देवर्षि पितृकिन्नरा सिद्धचारण यक्षाश्च अन्येऽपि मुनयो जना। गुरुभाव परं तीर्थम् अन्यतीर्थं निरर्थकं सर्वतीर्थाश्रयो देवी पादाङ्गुष्ठं वर्तते। जपेन जयमाप्नोति आनन्दफलमाप्नुयात्। जपं हि नाशनं कुर्वन् हेन कर्म फलप्रदं गुरुगीतां प्रयाणेव संग्रामे रिपुसङ्कटे। जपञ्जयमवाप्नोति मरणे मुक्तिदायकं सर्वकर्म च सर्वत्र गुरुपुत्रस्य सिद्ध्यति। इदं रहस्यं नो वाच्यं तवाग्रे कथितं मया सुगोप्यं च प्रयत्नेन मम त्वं च प्रियाकृति। स्वामी उक्ता गणेशादि वैष्णवादीनां च पार्वती मनसापि भक्त्यं न संशयः। अतीव पक्वचित्ताय श्रद्धा भक्तियुताय च प्रवक्तव्यमिदं दिवि ममात्मासि सदा प्रिये। अवक्ते वञ्चके दूते पाखण्डे नास्तिकेन मनसापि न वक्तव्य गुरुगीता कदाचन। संसार सागर समुद्धरणैकमन्त्रं ब्रह्मादिदेव मुनिपूजितसिद्धमन्त्रं दारिद्र्य दुःख भवरोगविनाशमन्त्रं वन्दे महावयरं गुरुराजमन्त्रम्। इति श्रीस्कन्दपुराणे उत्तरखण्डे ईश्वर पार्वती संवादे गुरुगीता समाप्ता। श्री गुरुदेव चरणार्पणमस्तु। नित्यानन्दाय गुरवे शिष्य संसारहारिणे भक्तकार्ये गदेहाय नमस्ते चित्तदायिने। निर्वासनं निराकाङ्क्षं सर्वदोषविवर्जितं निरालम्बं निरातङ्कं नित्यानन्दं नमाम्यहम्। निर्ममं निरहङ्कारं दुःखसुखं धीरम् अवधूतं नमाम्यहम्। अविनाशिनमात्मानम् एकं विज्ञाय तत्त्वतः वीतरागभयक्रोधं नित्यानन्दं नमाम्यहम्। समस्तकल्पनामात्रम् आत्मा मुक्ता सनातना इति विज्ञाय संतृप्तं नित्यानन्दं नमाम्यहम्। ज्ञानाग्निदग्धकर्माणं कामसङ्कल्पवर्जितं हेयोपादेयहीनं तम् अवधूतं नमाम्यहम्। स्वभावेनैव यो योगी सुखं भोगं न वाञ्छति यदृच्छालाभसन्तुष्टं नित्यानन्दं नमाम्यहम्। नैव निन्दा प्रशंसाभ्यां यस्य विक्रियते मनः आत्मक्रीडं महात्मानं अवधूतं नमाम्यहम्। नित्यं जाग्रदवस्थायां स्वप्नवद्योऽवतिष्ठते निश्चिन्तं चिन्मयात्मानं नित्यानन्दं नमाम्यहम्। द्वेष्यं नास्ति प्रियं नास्ति नास्ति यस्य शुभाशुभं भेदज्ञानविहीनं तम् अवधूतं नमाम्यहम्। जडं पश्यति नो यस्तु जगत् पश्यति चिन्मयं नित्ययुक्तं गुणातीतं नित्यानन्दं नमाम्यहम्। यो हि दर्शनमात्रेण भवते भुवनत्रयं जङ्गमं तीर्थम् अवधूतं नमाम्यहम्। सर्वपूज्यं सदा पूर्णम् अखण्डानन्दविग्रहं स्वप्रकाशं चिदानन्दं नित्यानन्दं नमाम्यहम्। निष्कलं निष्क्रियं शान्तं निर्मलं परमामृतं गणेशपुरीवासिनम् अवधूतं नमाम्यहम्। योगपूर्णं तपोमूर्तिं प्रेमपूर्णं सुदर्शनं ज्ञानपूर्णं कृपामूर्तिं नित्यानन्दं नमामि। दुर्जनः सज्जनो भूयात् सज्जनः शान्तिमाप्नुयात् शान्तो मुच्येत वन्देभ्यो मुक्तशान्यान् विमोचयेत्। स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्याय्येन मार्गेण महीषा गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितो ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। सर्वस्तरतु दुर्गाणि सर्वो भद्राणि पश्यतु सर्वकामान् वाप्नोतु सर्वत्र नन्दतु। स्वस्ति मातरः उत पित्रे नमस्तु स्वस्ति गोभ्यो जगते पुरुषे। विश्वं सुभूतं शुभदात्रां नो अस्तु जोगे वदृशेमसु। ओम शांति शांति शांति। आरती करूं सद्गुरु की करूं सद्गुरु के प्यारे गुरु वर के। आरती करूं गुरुवर के। आरती करूं सद्गुरु के करूं सद्गुरु के प्यारे गुरु वर के। आरती करूं गुरुवर के। जय गुरुदेव अमल अविनाशी ज्ञान रूप अंतर के वास। जय गुरुदेव पग पग पर देते प्रकाश जैसे किरण दिन कर की। आरती करूं गुरुवर की। आरती करूं सद्गुरु की करूं सद्गुरु के प्यारे गुरुवर की। आरती करूं गुरुवर की। तव से शरण तुम्हारे आए अमृत से मीठे फल पाए। तव से शरण शरण तुम्हारे क्या है छाया कल्प वृक्ष पर के। आरती करूं गुरुवर के। आरती करूं सद्गुरु के प्यारे गुरुवर के। आरती करूं गुरुवर के। ब्रह्म ज्ञान के पूर्ण प्रकाशक योग ज्ञान के अटल प्रवर्त। ब्रह्म ज्ञान के जय गुरु चरण सरोज मिटार यथा हमारे उर के। आरती करूं गुरुवर के। आरती करूं सद्गुरु के करूं सद्गुरु के प्यारे गुरुवर के। आरती करूं गुरुवर के। अंधकार से हमें निकाला दिखलाया है अमर उजाला। अंधकार से हमें भवते जाने जान रहे थे पाक सुनो धर धर की। आरती करूं आरती करूं सद्गुरु के करूं सद्गुरु के प्यारे गुरु वर की आरती करूं गुरु वर की। संशय मिटा विवेक कराया भवसागर से पार लंघाया। संशय मिटा विवेक करा भवसागर से पार लंघाया। अमर प्रदीप जला कर कर दे निजादूर सन की आरती करूं गुरु आरती करूं सद्गुरु के करूं सद्गुरु के प्यारे गुरु वर की आरती करूं गुरु वर के। वेदो वेच अवेद बताया आवागमन विमुक्त करा। वेदो वेच अवेद अन्य हुए हम करधार ब्रह्म ज्ञान निरंजन की आरती करूं गुरु वर की आरती करूं सद्गुरु की करूं सद्गुरु के प्यारे गुरु वर की आरती करूं गुरु वर। करो कृपा सद्गुरु तारण सतपथ दर्शक भ्रांति निवार। करो कृपा सद्गुरु नय होने त्यजो तेरे गलान वाले लीला धर की आरती करूं गुरु वर की आरती करूं गुरु के प्यारे गुरु वर की आरती करूं गुरु वर। नित्यानंद सद्गुरु दाता शक्ति पात के दिव्य प्रदान। मोक्तानंद सद पर के बात गण सबुरे भववाना हरली जनकी आरती करूं गुरु वर के आरती करूं सद्गुरु करूं सद्गुरु गुरु वर के आरती चैतन्यं शाश्वतं शान्तं व्योमातीतं निरञ्जनं नादबिन्दु कलातीतं तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय।
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sunday morning Satsang. You may be wondering, where are all the people who drove those cars? As you'll see, it's a big line of cars out there. They're doing their own program. We may say a couple of things about that as we go along. But we'll start here at our session this morning. Mukta Nandaya Gurave Shisha Samsara Harine Bhakta Karye Kadehaya Namaste Chitsaratmane Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchita Nanda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunatu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu Mahavidvishavahe Om Shanti 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 Sangurnath Maharaj Ki Jai. So as you all know, we've been studying and exploring, perhaps maybe even a better word, Lalita Sahasranam this year, but it's all a part of a larger exploration of Shiva and Shakti, which we were doing last year, which we will continue to do. And so this morning I have a few things to explore with you in that space. I've been thinking about it during the course of the week, and I thought, what would be an appropriate way? What would be useful? What am I actually thinking and feeling in this space? Because when we do this, when we explore and when we really do our sadhana, our spiritual practice, it's useful to keep coming back to this simple question, why do we do it? Why do we do it? And if you were to think about that, I mean, what pops into your mind? You don't have to say anything or volunteer, but just think, yeah, well, why am I doing it? Because there's moments when that question is a really good question, and it can either put us back on a clearer track, or maybe before that, make us realize, I think I'm veering off the track actually, or I'm not even sure what track I'm on, and why, and what is this all about? So it's important to reconsider, as it were, all of the simple things that keep us on the right track and keep us moving in the right direction. There is a mantra, it is a part of this tradition that we've been studying, that we use as an invocation of the Devi. And it's a very simple mantra. It's a few words. Om, which we always start and end things with, that primordial sound. I'm, and in this tradition, this would be a way of, it's a bija mantra associated with Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, the goddess of speech, and it has the capacity to open our consciousness as we are going to study or listen or just be in a higher state of knowledge and wisdom. Hrim, the next one, is the sound of the goddess representing the powers of creation, sustenance, and dissolution. And it's associated with Shakti herself, Parvati, symbolizing that divine feminine energy, which is Lalita. And then Shrim, it's a sound to invoke the power of love, of devotion, of abundance, and it's associated with Lakshmi. So when we put them together, it becomes, and I'll just say it for you, and then you can pick up with it, Om, Aim, Hrim, Shrim, and then we finish it with Shri Matre Namaha. So we bow to the mother, basically. Put it all together. Om, Aim, Hrim, Shrim, Shri Matre Namaha. Again. Om, Aim, Shrim, Shri Matre Namaha. Once more. Om, Aim, Hrim, Shrim, Shri Matre Namaha. So it said that we should chant, invoke the Devi with that mantra, a series of bija mantras, to receive the most we can from our study, from our focus, from our meditation. And it can be practiced at any point in time when you just want to bring your consciousness back in and at the same time open it up to whatever you're going to do. And you can see that it's quite quick. So anytime you feel like you're drifting, going off into a space that you don't want to be in, you're not really focused, Om, Aim, Hrim, Hrim, Shri Matre Namaha. How long does that take? So this powerful mantra leads us into other mantras. So one of the things I was thinking it may be useful to do is to weave together some of the basic principles of the study of Shakti, Shiva as well, the Devi, as well as maybe deepening our understanding of what this is all about. Because when we are studying what seems like a newer thing, Lakshmi, even though the chanting of the Lakshmi Sahasranam, Lalita Sahasranam has been going on for a long time, but we haven't necessarily understood deeply what it is and what it's about. So that's why we do this. We can keep chanting, we can do all the chants that we do, but to go deeper in our understanding is a very powerful thing. So what I want to do this. I've got this lovely new book, new for me. It's all about Lalita Sahasranam. Dana put me on to it, and what I love about it, it's about the Lalita Sahasranam, but it says it's about living the Lalita Sahasranam. It's about living it. And there's an important distinction for me between saying we'll chant and then we'll do our chanting regularly and then we'll see how to apply it out in the world. This says it's about living it, not trying to apply it after the fact. It's about living it all the time, whether we're in the ashram, whether we're outside of the ashram. And I think that's just that's the point, really. It's really the point of being able to live it and see what that does to us. So a couple of points I'll point out to you. Just for many people, it's just a reminder. We know this Lalita is 1,000 names, 1,000 names. And when you get into it, you realize those 1,000 names are not kind of leading down a linear track. So here's another important point. This whole thing is not linear. It's not a linear track like school, education. You go to grade 1, grade 2, blah, blah, blah. It's like, and I think that's being studied in the program that's going on now. It's, you get an understanding of something that seems linear, even the chakras, but you realize the way they operate, the way they focus, the energy in them doesn't necessarily always happen in a linear way. And that itself is the first eye-opener. Oh, you just start working with it and it starts to move. And it moves from down here and then may jump up here and then it's over here in the heart. And that's the nature of sadhana. That's the nature of our practice. Don't try to box it. Understand the different aspects, but don't think it's going to work like that. It's going to do its thing. It's leading, not us, okay? Because it is everything. So the entire philosophy and practice of the ancient tradition of Sri Vidya, which is what the Lalita and the Devi is all about, Sri, auspicious, vidya, wisdom, from the limitations of living and dying as being subject to time and space and the suffering inherent in these limitations. That can seem like a pretty intense statement, but it's what we're about. And to understand that, we start with who am I? And often we think of who am I as this individual being who's doing the sadhana. And yet the whole point of the practice in the sadhana is to stop thinking of myself like that. Reflect on that. The whole point of sadhana is to actually shift my understanding that I'm not just this limited individual me. It's going beyond that. But as it's pointed out here, and I love the way she talks about it, she says, but the story of me is so mesmerizing and engaging. I just want to stay with it, you know, and we lead our life. And then there's moments when we open up and we go, this isn't working. I feel there's more. I feel there's something that I'm not having, doing, being. And so what happens then is we go searching. And we're searching for that something more. And this is the story of our lives. This is the journey that we're on. And the reason we do sadhana is we want to get the thing, maybe that's not the word, that we want. That's going to open us up and make us feel fantastic all the time. Not just when we get X, Y, or Z, but all the time. And that's the purpose of practice and sadhana and spiritual life. So not just a being, searching, finding sometimes, finding, losing, trying again, doing this other thing. Liberation is freedom from taking ourselves to be just a character, just a me, but more than that, and discovering that our true essence is the same as that of the goddess, that ultimately we are that goddess, we are that Shiva, we are that Shakti, and this is the journey. And to go on that journey is what spiritual practice is about. But this other smaller me keeps coming in and saying, oh, I'm this, and when I was younger, and I'm good at this, and I'm not good at that, and we go around and around the twist. I want you to, as a part of this, I'm going to ask a lot of you, I want you to hold these images, and it's kind of like a balancing act. One image is that of a circle, and then in the middle of the circle, there's a dot. Okay, in the middle of the circle, there's a dot. Now that circle is us as me, and we're going around. We're living our lives, but we're living it out here, okay? That dot in the center is the bindu, is the inner self. It's in the middle. This thing that we're trying to get onto and stay on is like, you know, the who's into math? You know, then there's the radii. Radii is half of a radius. Yeah, remember that? So the radii takes you from the circumference to the center. All right? And in the spiritual path of what we're studying, that's the bindu, the blue dot, pearl. That's who we really are. But we spend most of our time out here on the circumference, even when we're doing spiritual practice, because again, that is so seductive, you know, and it's, you know, we know that, we live that. We're like an actor or an actress, and when we first start to do our spiritual practice, we realize, well, I am sort of that, but that can get sticky sometimes. That can be disappointing. That can take me down the wrong track. So I know what I really am is this thing in the center. And so we start doing sadhana. Sadhana is walking that radius into the center. But we keep getting pulled out. We get caught in our daily life. Like I said, it's who we know we are. It's who we've experienced for this life, and as they say in the scriptures, many lifetimes. So what I'm trying to say is that even if we know inside of our head that we want to be all that we are, that center of everything, we will spend most of our life out here. Except we know we come in, we chant the Lalita, or we do Sunday morning Satsang, or we do that. And it's wonderful, and we feel so uplifted. It's a great feeling. But then there comes that trek back to our life, and that can be the thing that keeps us kind of, because as soon as we get back into that, it's like, oh yeah, but this is happening, and I better do that, and I got to go to the bank, and this is all part of life. But we start to forget that center. If we could just live our lives from that center, so the circle is there, the dot is there, the radius is there. If we could live from the center, we could handle everything. Living from the center. That's what all of this is about. Trying to live from the center. Just a different perspective. So we chant something as powerful as the Lalita, which is literally a garland of mantras. It's not one mantra, it's just mantra after mantra, and it's so, so powerful. And if we could live from there, live from that view of everything being the goddess and the Devi, what that would be like. So here's a reflection. I think I'm going to read something for you that makes it easier. You can sit back. There's a word. I'm adding these words in our practice, and it's called bhavana. And bhavana is like a meditative contemplation. A meditative contemplation. So we don't just chant something, we don't just do something and then move on to the next thing. We go deeply into it. So one of the things you start to realize is that those 1,000 names, the actual chant, is divided into sections. And these different sections focus on various aspects. Devi's auspiciousness. But what I want to read to you has to do with Devi's omnipresence. Omnipresent. That in fact, she is everything. And that is about who we are. So, contemplate. Contemplate Devi's omnipresence. I'm going to just guide you through this reflection, okay? So sit quietly and become aware of your surroundings. While your eyes are open, the objects you see. But then close your eyes, and it's the sounds you hear, even the taste in your mouth, the feeling of air or clothing on your skin, and the smell of the surroundings. Open deeply to this awareness. Devi is every sensation. She is all the objects you can experience. She is the one that is experiencing them all through you. She is also the process of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and feeling. Now, contemplate memories, people, and events you treasure. She is all that. Now, contemplate memories, people, and events you despise. You despise. She is all that too. Contemplate your own consciousness and awareness. This is Devi. Everything you do, think, feel, and experience is Devi. Now, try to find one thing that doesn't have her presence. Try to find one thing that doesn't have her presence. Listen carefully. Your very attempt and act of finding is Devi. Where can you find something that isn't she? So to live with this awareness of Devi's omnipresence means, as we go about our day, open to every experience, sensation, and thought as the presence of the Devi. So here are the levels of study of the Devi and of the Devi. We look at her form and we reflect and meditate on that as we chant the Lalita. That's her gross form, like we have that form. And then we go inside of it into these mantras, sounds. And they are also the Devi. And they are also us. And then we go beyond even that, because the mantra will lead us deeper, subtler parts of our being, deeper, subtler parts of the Devi. And we are also that. So, as we study the Devi, as we worship and become devoted, the key is to realize we're always studying, we're always invoking, we're always devoted to our own deepest self. And the devotion, the awareness, the love of the Devi, and here's the paradox, is also the love of our own being. And that is the understanding that we want to carry with us into our practice. And then, as we get closer to that divine presence in the form of the Devi, we, as we expand our awareness, are what? We're getting closer to the fact of our own subtler being, which is always that Shakti, always that divine presence. If we get benefit just chanting the Lalita with no awareness, okay? Because it's that powerful. But imagine how much more powerful it is with this kind of awareness. I'd like to guide you through something else. So what if, as you sit and reflect on the omnipresence, or as you meditate on the divine presence of the Devi, what if inside you had a vision of the Devi, of her subtle form? What if that happened? Would you say, I'm sorry, I've got to go to lunch now? So put yourself in that awareness, in that experience. What if that happened? Would you say something? Would you feel something? Now you may think I'm making up this synchronicity, but a couple of days ago, I got an email from someone on the path who said, Larry, can you help me with this? I was just walking around the house and I saw the form of Sri Chakra. And I stopped and I sat down and I thought, what's going on? And it just hung there in my inner vision. So whether I had my eyes open or closed, there it was. what should I do? And then she went on to say, and I felt divine. It just was so powerful. So I'm saying to you, what if that happened to you? That happens to people as they practice, as they do, as they embark on this journey. Shiva Shakti are really not different. And, we know that. But when we have experiences of that is when we really know that. And the whole point of our practice is to get to that point. There's another related way of thinking about practice or sadhana, and it comes up very much in Sri Vidya in the study of the Devi, and it's called upasana. And they overlap, but the thing that it invokes and is important is that for a person who's on a more tantric, divine, Devi, goddess path or aspect of their own path, love, devotion, bhakti is important. Because when someone is aware of that, the only thing they want is not, let me say this in a way that doesn't contradict, which is impossible. It's not that it's different, it's that it's an all-embracing way of looking at it. They just want to be with the beloved, as it were. They just want to be near, to think of, to praise. That is a large part of the process. And that's the goal for them. But you can see it's just another aspect of the journey. And so when I say there's almost a paradox in it, it's like we want to divide. That's back to that me, remember? And when I'm saying that, I'm only saying that because it's not a bad thing, but if that's what's keeping us limited, then we've got to find a way to work with that in our paradoxical lives. So a couple of things that I think may be useful. And that is, we've talked about bhavana, and that's a point. So we're always going to be reflecting deeply. It's here. On it. And I think the thing that I'm just saying, if we understand clearly, so a couple of points. One is ego, this me that I've been talking about. Ego is not, when it's used in a sadhana point of view, it's not about thinking highly of oneself or being arrogant. Ego in the spiritual sense, and the way that we're looking at it here, is about what is it that keeps us actually limited. Only a limited view of I'm tall, I'm short, I'm smart, I know math, I don't, I'm good at this, I'm bad at that, I don't feel so good about. That's the ego that the scriptures are saying that doesn't serve us. That ego doesn't serve us, And that ego keeps us caught in what we call samsara, the suffering of the world. And that means we live our lives without being fully fulfilled and aware of that dot in the center. Remember that? I said hold that, keep that there. So we live mainly awareness of the circumference of all the activity that we do. We're not living with this deeper awareness of who we are, which opens up our whole life, and that's awakening. When we awake to who we truly are, then the experience of our life changes. So that's really the only point of this whole thing. But now we have the ego, now we have our karma, our way of looking at ourselves, and those things keep us sitting in that limited view, the limited view. And that limited view ultimately is what keeps us flapping around. One of the things that he points out, she points out, the scriptures and the wise people point out, is that where our view of ourself is so much caught up in what we call anavamala, limited view, that we can't break out. We can't break out of that sense of who we are. So like this person who had this experience of the Sri Chakra and the Devi, all of this was just in front of her, transformed her experience of herself. Bang, powerful. So if we want to go beyond that, what do? We do all of this. I guess part of my reason for just reflecting on this and sharing it and saying, what does it bring up for you, is to say, what do you think? What will help you along your path, along your sadhana? What will lift? What will allow you to not get so caught? And as you think about that, I'm going to share, I don't know if it's not exactly a dharana, but it kind of is. Okay, I'll do that. And then you may get some more input. This is another bhavana, and this is on entrapment and freedom. And it's in the 700s of Lalita. Contemplate the stories you tell about yourself. I'll give you a moment. Contemplate the stories you tell about yourself. This is about each of us. Just, tell stories? Yeah, we do. How do you resolve the feelings of not being good enough? And remember, this is not just you or me. This is a pervasive and fundamental thing with most human beings. Some level of that exists. And here's a really important point. Even feelings of superiority over others comes from anavamala, that is, that limited self. We can feel better about ourselves if we put someone else down. Just reflect. Even feelings of superiority over others. Then think about a situation where you reacted in your, quote, usual way, be it withdrawal, anxiety, irritation, or annoyance. Your usual way, be it withdrawal, anxiety, irritation, or annoyance. Return to that situation as vividly as possible, taking the time to notice your usual reaction as it arises. Your usual reaction as it arises. This is the movement of limitation. This is the movement of limitation. Now, pause. Pause and breathe in a relaxed way. Pause and breathe in a relaxed way. Now deliberately find another way to respond that is the opposite of your usual way. Find another way to respond that is the opposite of your usual way, your limited way. And as you're able to do that, notice the freedom in your ability to choose. Notice the freedom in your ability to choose another way. that is the Devi as well. Your ability to choose. And the suggestion would be, practice this in real life situations, pausing before responding and searching for another way that's more aligned with who you know you are at a deeper level. And this may be our most challenging aspect. Avoid placing blame on parents, caregivers, peers, politics, and others for your behavior. I'll say that again. Avoid placing blame on parents, caregivers, peers, politics, and others for your behavior. If you're familiar with the background of Lalita and Bandasura, the demon, and so on, they make this point. They are as much under Bandasura's influence as you are. You go, oh, hadn't thought about it like that. In other words, their limited view of themselves, their entrapment, their suffering, they're coming from that. Okay, so if we're trying to lift ourselves and ultimately others, we have to do the work first. We have to do the work first. And all of these things, and this is interesting, when we think of non-duality means non-duality. There's nothing, and when we project it outside, we say there's nothing other than the Devi. But we could also say there's nothing other than the Shakti, other than Shiva. There's nothing. Nothing sits outside of it. It's like we're looking at a mirror. It's like we're looking in this, and it's all happening in this mirror. And you can't, if you look at it in that way, that the whole universe is inside of this mirror, nothing affects anything. What's in the mirror, nothing is affected by that. You can look at yourself in the mirror, you can look at something else. So what it's saying is that if you use that analogy, then nothing is really happening, even as everything is happening. Can you sit with that for a moment? Nothing is happening. Because why? Because it's all Shakti. Because it's all the Devi. Good, bad, high, low. So how do I get out of this? You don't. But the way you experience it and the way you look at it and the way you perceive it changes dramatically. And the way you then act and move. If everyone were your beloved, like for those of us who are parents, if a child does something that you don't like, you don't throw them out the house. You probably embrace them and say, they're there, it's okay. I'm here for you. I will always be here for you. What if we could live like that? That would probably have the most impact on everything and everyone. And when we really understand deeply that divine presence and interact in that way, and so we chant, we do practice, we do sadhana with something as powerful as the Lalita. What is it doing? It's the power of mantra. It's just cleaning, refining, making subtle everything that we are. And then it becomes possible to start to see that divine presence out there in everything. And that changes everything. And this is again, seems to be my favorite word, paradoxical thing. Is like if we can change who we are and our experience from that bindu, then we're capable of not only transform our entire experience, but the way we impact and interact with everything is different. What does that do? I mean, I'm just thinking, what do you think is the impact of that? Because I'm just throwing out some reflections, honestly, but I'm saying if we reflect on these things as we practice, over time, that's what starts to happen. But we do need to stay with our practice. And we, quote, study two kinds of understanding. One is the accumulation of knowledge, information, fine, there's a place for that. But this kind of understanding is we accumulate understanding of our own self, that kind of knowledge. So even when we will study, we'll read, we have to ask ourselves, why are we studying? Are we studying the scriptures? Are we studying the Lalita to gain more information? Yes, it will happen. But really, the reason we're doing it is to get to that center. So if we can't apply it, if we can't live it, we're on the wrong track. We'll become smarter, we'll know more about it, but it won't have the impact that changes our experience of life. One of the things she said that really struck me, she said something like this: whoever we are, wherever we come from, and whether we are aware of her or not, we worship Devi in our desire to, one, survive, and two, thrive. That's what everybody is doing in this whole world. Whoever we are, whether we come from and whether we are aware of her or not, we worship Devi in our desire to survive and thrive. The desire to live, to create, to prosper drives every animate and inanimate form of creation. You go out, you'll see it. That's what people are doing. They're doing it in this form, they're doing it in that form, and that's the thing that's amazing when you look at it. And so rather than judging people and their aspirations and their creativity and their efforts, we understand it from a deeper level. They're searching for Devi. They're searching for their own self. That's all. So we don't have to criticize that. That's a wonderful thing. But it just has to be directed towards that center, towards that self. Sri Vidya, of which Lalita is a part, is the path that brings us to the realization of Sri, the all-pervading principle at the heart of reality. I'll say that again. Sri Vidya, which is what we're doing, and what we've always done on this path, is the path that brings us to the realization of Sri, the all-pervading principle at the heart of reality. So Sri Vidya is a path to nirvana or liberation. And the Lalita is a very, very significant part of that. Maybe a little light coming in as we reflect. So, thank you. Sagarnath Maharaj Ki Jai.
मुक्तानन्द महा जय सद्गुरु जय सद्गुरु भगवान जय सद्गुरु मुक्तानन्द जय सद्गुरु भगवान मुक्तानन्द मुक्तानन्द महा जय सद्गुरु भगवान जय सद्गुरु भगवान मेरे गुरु महा जय सद्गुरु भगवान मुक्तानन्द महा जय सद्गुरु भगवान मुक्तानन्द महा जय सद्गुरु भगवान जय सद्गुरु भगवान जय सद्गुरु भगवान मेरे गुरु महान मेरे गुरु महान मुक्तानंद महान जय सद्गुरु भगवान मुक्तानंद महान जय सद्गुरु भगवान मेरे गुरु महान मेरे गुरु महान जय सद्गुरु भगवान मुक्तानंद महान जय सद्गुरु भगवान मुक्तानंद महान जय सद्गुरु भगवान मेरे गुरु महान मेरे गुरु महान जय सद्गुरु भगवान मुक्तानंद महान जय सद्गुरु भगवान मुक्तानंद महान जय सद्गुरु भगवान मेरे गुरु महान સદગુરુ ભગવાન મુક્તાનંદ મહા જય સદગુરુ ભગવાન મુક્તાનંદ મહા જય સદગુરુ ભગવાન મુક્તાનંદ મહા જય સદગુરુ ભગવાન આરતી લેજો અજ વિનાશી પૂર્ણ નિત્યાનંદ પ્રકાશી પૂર્ણ મુક્તાનંદ પ્રકાશી આરતી લેજો નવર ધરણી આરતી તાલા ચંદ્ર સૂરજ દો દીપ ઉજાલા નવર ધરણી આરતી તાલા ચંદ્ર સૂરજ દો દીપ ઉજાલા અગર ચંદન સબ ધૂપ વિરાજે અગર ચંદન સબ ધૂપ વિરાજે ઝૂલા में रोचमर तरुरा आरती लेजो आरती लेजो अज विनाशी पूर्ण नित्यानंद प्रकाश पूर्ण मुक्तानंद प्रकाश आरती लेजो फूल वनस्पति है ये सारे ये सातो सागर जल की झारे फूल वनस्पति है ये सारे सातों सागर जल की झारे, गगन अनाथ बाजे बाजे, गगन अनाथ बाजे बाजे, गाजे राग डरे यम पाशे, आरती ले जो, आरती ले जो, अज विनाशी पूर्ण नित्यानंद प्रकाश, पूर्ण मुक्तानंद प्रकाश, आरती लीजो। चार प्रकार के अन्न गोपाला, सोहे तेरो भोग रसाला। चार प्रकार के अन्न गोपाला, सोहे तेरो भोग रसाला। लोक चतुर्दिश मंदिर तेरो, लोक चतुर्दिश मंदिर तेरो। घट घट आसन स्वयं विकासी, आरती ले जो, आरती ले जो। अज विनाशी पूर्ण नित्यानंद प्रकाश, पूर्ण मुक्तानंद प्रकाशी, आरती लीजो। महावाक्य वेदन के जो है, सो तेरो चरणामृत सो है। महावाक्य वेदन के जो है, सो तेरो चरणामृत सो है। सदगुरु पुजारी देव चरणामृत, सदगुरु पुजारी देव चरणामृत। पिए नारे नरबंध विनाशी, आरती लीजो, आरती लीजो। अज विनाशी पूर्ण नित्यानंद प्रकाश, पूर्ण मुक्तानंद प्रकाशी, आरती लीजो। ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ, सद्गुरु ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ। मेरा अंतर से मेरा मिटा, सद्गुरु ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ। हे योगेश्वर हे ज्ञानेश्वर, हे योगेश्वर हे सर्वेश्वर, हे परमेश्वर, हे सर्वेश्वर, हे परमे। निज कृपा बरसाओ, सद्गुरु ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ। मेरा अंतर से मेरा मिटा, सद्गुरु ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ। हम बालक तेरे द्वार पे आए, हम बालक तेरे द्वार पे आए, मंगल दरस दिखाओ। सद्गुरु ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ। मेरा अंतर ते मेरा मिटाओ। सद्गुरु ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ। शीश झुकाया करे तेरी आरती, शीश प्रेम सुधा बरसाओ। सद्गुरु ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ। मेरा अंतर ते मेरा मिटाओ। सद्गुरु ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ। अंतर में योग योग से सोए, अंतर चित शक्ति को जगाओ। सद्गुरु ज्योत जगाओ। मेरा अंतर ते मेरा मिटाओ। सद्गुरु ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ। साची ज्योत जगे हृदय में, साची ज्योत जगे हृदय में, सोहम नाद जगाओ। सद्गुरु ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ। मेरा अंतर ते मेरा मिटाओ। सद्गुरु ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ। जीवन मुक्ता नंद विनाशी, जीवन मुक्ता नंद विनाशी, शरणन शरण लगा। सद्गुरु ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ। मेरा अंतर ते मेरा मिटाओ। सद्गुरु ज्योत से जगाओ। ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ। सद्गुरु ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ। मेरा अंतर ते मेरा मिटाओ। सद्गुरु ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ। त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव, त्वमेव बन्धो च सखा त्वमेव, त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव, त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव। दूर करो दुख दर्द सब, दया करो भगवान। मन मंदिर में उज्ज्वल हो, तेरा निर्मल ज्ञान। जिस घर में हो आरती, चरण कमल चितला, ताहाँ हरि मसा करे। ज्योत अनंत जगत, जहाँ भक्त कीर्तन करे, बहे प्रेम दरिया। कुछ दिया आपने, भेंट करूं क्या ना, नमस्कार की भेंट धरूं, जोड़ूं मैं दोनों, नमस्कार की भेंट धरूं, जोड़ूं मैं दोनों हाथ। ओम पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। सं समेद्युवसे वृषन्नग्ने विश्वा निर्या इडस्पदे समेद्यसे तन्नो वसून्यापर संगच्छध्वं संवदध्वं शम्भो मनासि जानतां देवा भागं यथा पूर्वे संजानाना उपासते समानो मन्त्र समिति समान समानं मना सचित्तमेषाम् समानं मन्त्रमविमन्त्र एव समानेन वो हविषा जुहोमि समाने वाकोति समाना हृदयानि वा समानमस्तु वो मनो यथा वहसु सहसति। हरिः ओम्। ओम यो शान्तिरन्तरिक्षं शान्तिः पृथिवी शान्तिरपः शान्तिरोगदयः शान्तिः वनस्पतयः शान्तिर्विश्वे देवा शान्तिर्ब्रह्म शान्तिः सर्वगो शान्तिः शान्तिरेव शान्तिः सामा शान्तिरेधि। जतो यतः समीहसे ततो नो अभयं कुरु शन्नः कुर्व्रजभ्यो भयन्नः पशुभ्यः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। सुशान्तिर्भवतु सर्वारिष्ट सर्वोपद्रव शान्तिरस्तु। शिवः शक्त्या युक्तो यदि भवति शक्ता प्रभवितुं न चेदेवं देवो न खलु कुशलस्पन्दितुमपि हतस्त्वमाराध्य हरिहरविरिञ्चादिभिरपि प्रणन्तुं स्तोतुं वा कृतपुण्या प्रभवति तव च का किल नास्तुतिर् सकलशब्दमयि किल ते तनु निखिलमूर्तिषु मे भवदन्वयो मनसि जासु वै प्रचरासु इति विचिन्त्य शिवे शिवे जगति जातमयज्ञवसादिदं स्तुतिजपार्चन चिन्तनवर्जित न खलु काचन कालकलास्मि न खलु काचन कालकला न खलु काचन कालकलास्मि सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय।
So this concludes our Sunday morning satsang. Thank you all for your presence here, both in person and online. And we're just around the corner from June 1st, so the month of June. More summer weather, we're hoping. With that, it brings us a continued study of Lalita Sahasranam for the month of June. And also, along with that, we have our Hatha Yoga presence at that time, including International Yoga Day. So just a couple of details on that. So the Hatha Yoga course starts on June 17th until June 24th. And we're very fortunate because we have Palamas coming in from Italy and Mary from Mexico, Mary Hamra, and our own Kelly Lodice from the Hudson Valley. So we'll be having a wonderful 7-day Hatha Yoga course. Everyone is invited to attend. There is a registration for that, so if you do plan on joining us for any part of that, they are doing, I think there's also a day pass for people, so it's not just all 7 days, but there's a day pass as well. So you can register for that down at the office or online. And then during that week, on Sunday, it is both Father's Day, June 21st, and it's also International Yoga Day. So we'll be having an International Yoga Day down at Namaste. And it's a wonderful time to bring new people. So they'll get a little bit of an introduction to the path of yoga, asana practice, pranayama, and actual practical asanas that we'll do in live with the teachers down there. And then there'll also be a video, and then we'll conclude with lunch. So for that, there's no entrance fee for that. It's for everyone. So bring your friends, bring whoever you wish that you would like to introduce to that. It'll be a wonderful day and a wonderful way of joining hands and arms with those globally. International Yoga Day is very well celebrated these days and honored, always on June 21st, and so we're all looking forward to hosting that here as well. And then we have our Guru Purnima Intensive coming up in July. So that is on July 25th here in person, and then it'll come to everybody via the with the links in your emails on July 29th. And the topic for this one is Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So salutations to the Guru. So with that, everybody's invited to come up for darshan, followed by lunch prasad. Just be a little mindful when you go down to Namaste for lunch. I'm not quite sure if the other group who is here right now, the Marsha Foundation, if they're finished with their session, so just watch the voices, but you can continue with lunch prasad and keep moving through all of that and enjoy it and enjoy the beautiful weather. Thank you all. Sadhgurunad Maharaj Ki Jai.